G'day, and welcome to Tartarian Truthers with your hosts, Casey and JoJo. We are back with part 2 of Energy of the Old World, and thank you to those who did comment on last week's episode. We got so many great responses, and we covered so much, from the evolution of the chimney and fireplace to the history of chimney sweeping. We looked at the major errors timeline, the history of coal for energy, Tesla's true wireless, the mysterious Tesla Tower in Texas, and the energy war between Tesla and Edison.
Okay, so now we've got all that out of the way, let's take a look at our chimneys and fireplaces and try and figure out how civilizations before us seem to have limitless power. Do you remember this video, JoJo, from our Demolishing Old World Australia episode?
Yep.
Well, take a look at all those chimneys and spires as well on our cathedrals and domes on some of our older structures.
You know, looking back at Australia's early buildings, most of the common features were the chimneys.
These are the homes found in and around inner cities of Sydney. Actually, most of our cities look just like this. So, our question is, were these chimneys really what we are told?
Because, you know, when you look back at 19th century fireplaces, they look so ornate, beautifully designed with such delicate detail. And it seems so crazy that we would just burn wood or coal in them.
Yeah, I know, right? These are often decorated with paintings and mantles filled with people's most prized possessions. I mean, would you look at these? They're stunning.
And you know what, Casey? You find paintings and other depictions of from all over the world of our ancestors, you know, sitting around the fireplace, often without a fire blazing, just saying. But obviously, this is in Australia because we didn't go through the Renaissance period, apparently, but we do have structures that have these exact same fireplaces. And then, you know, all of a sudden, you fast forward to some more recent paintings, and our people are huddled around the fireplace, not only for heat, but to cook too.
Why is it that once the inheritors arrived, the fireplaces started to look like this?
Do you think we simply did not know how to use those 18th and 19th century fireplaces?
Absolutely. I think it's pretty clear that they weren't regular fireplaces. I mean, take a look at our modern day upgrades. Yeah, clearly we did not know the proper use of the old world fireplace. What a travesty.
I know, right? Absolute travesty. But let's take a look at what's been circulating on Instagram of late. There is this real emphasis on the accessories which accompanied the fireplace.
That's right. So these are known as brass andirons. Today we're told that these andirons, or fire dogs as they are also known, were a bracket support and are devices made of metal which support the firewood. They normally stand upon short legs and are usually connected with an upright guard. The guard keeps the logs in the fireplace as they burn and settle. This guard, which may be of iron, steel, copper, bronze, or even silver, may be simple or elaborately ornamented, often with patterns of heraldic ornaments such as fleur-de-lis, sphinxes, grotesque animals, mythological creatures, or caryatides, supporting heroic figures or emblems.
Strange, right? To have such beautifully designed andirons to secure logs. We have repurposed these fireplace accessories, turning them into roasting racks and often candelabras. Who remembers this guy?
On top of all these magnificent structures, towers, spires, and pinnacles that rise into piercing antennas. It was through these complex antennas that the ether was harvested. You see, after the Great Reset of the 1800s, the enemy fractured the old world's unified understanding of God and created multiple religions to try and hide God and justify the existence of such grand and beautiful technological structures. And I know this may trigger some people, but stay with me. I will not let you down. But for now, it is critical to understand that a lot of the religious icons that adorn and make up these antennas were never indicators of different religions in the old world, nor were they intended to be. They signaled something else entirely. They are usually made from copper and gold. Both are excellent conductors of electricity. In many of the structures we call cathedrals, the symmetrical spikes on the pinnacles worked in a similar fashion, extracting ether.
According to him and many others who have been researching in this community for a very long time, it is believed that the religious icons atop the towers and spires were complex antennas, not what we believe them to be today, but they were made of copper and gold and were actually excellent conductors of electricity.
It is strongly believed that there is the possibility that our old world cathedrals, churches, and other structures were in fact energy generating machines that had the ability to send wireless frequencies to our homes and other building structures. But I guess what we want to know is how energy went from here to here, or maybe even here to here, all the way to here.
Yes. When we look at a lot of our old photographs of Australia and around the world in the 1800s, we see a lot of images that appear to be power poles, but without the wires connecting them to anything. So, could we have actually already been utilizing a form of free energy before Tesla was coming up with his idea and before Edison brought in his apparent low cost electricity?
That is the question of the hour, my friend.
Yeah, and it's a tough one, isn't it, Jojo, when we're trying to surmise how it all worked, especially when we weren't around at the time.
Yeah, I know, right? So, Casey, I've often wondered what the function is of the steeples, for example. They seem like a waste of space. Therefore, they must have been ornamental, right? So, why were they building these huge spires just to look good, especially when you have people living in the squalor of slab huts?
In architecture, a steeple is a tall tower on a building topped by a spire and often incorporating a belfry and other components. Steeples are very common on Christian churches and cathedrals, and the use of the term generally connotes a religious structure. They might be standalone structures or incorporated into the entrance or centre of the building. In the early 20th century, many steeples were removed as they claimed that they were in a state of disrepair, and modern day replacements were introduced instead.
And one of our boots on the ground Tartarian truther friend, Richie, happened to notice a steeple that had been removed from a building and very kindly stopped by to investigate.
Hey Casey, hey JoJo. This, I'm told, has taken off some Tartarian architecture when they demolished a whole lot of stuff in the Windsor area. And when you look up inside of it, there's a whole lot of copper. There's copper guttering and what looks like sort of urns or something. So I don't know whether that generated heat or boiled water. But there you go.
Thanks, Richie. You're a champ. So interesting with all that copper up in there because we know that copper is a conductor of energy, right? And what about those urns that he mentioned? Could they have, originally been holding mercury?
Mm.
It just gets you thinking and thinking and thinking, doesn't it, Jojo?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think that Tesla came up with this free energy idea himself? Or was he just trying to replicate what was already visible all around him in the spires and the domes and the steeples of the now defunct structures? But were they really structures, or were they elaborate free energy stations? And what about these things? We call them antiquitech or antique technology, and they were found all over our realm. Were they a part of this free energy grid as well?
All very good questions, Casey. So this interesting diagram from George F. Cram, which was published in Chicago in 1897, is illustrating the heights of the 78 tallest principal high buildings in the world. The legend at the bottom notes that the color code is based upon building materials of brick, stone, granite, bronze, copper, gold, and lead. And, I love this image, and I wish George Cram was still around because he might be able to answer some of our questions.
Okay, well, I have another question, JoJo. So many questions.
As always.
Why is it that grand old world structures are designated as religious or government buildings, which then makes most areas within them almost completely inaccessible to people like you and I? For example, there's huge crypts under some of our cathedrals, but we've never been able to go down and have a look at them. Only certain people are privy to what's actually down there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even the domes and spires, are we even allowed to go up there?
So from the research we've done and looking at the research of others too, it's hard not to believe that we once lived in a realm that had clean, free energy. So what happened? After the last reset, it's pretty clear to see that something changed. We now pay exorbitant prices to centralized electricity companies to get power to our homes from coal-fired power stations that spew a never-ending stream of carbon dioxide into the air. Tesla's dream back in the late 1800s was to create a source of inexhaustible, clean energy that was free for everyone. But there's no money in that, is there? I mean, it's now 2022, and sadly, there are still people living in third world countries without access to electricity. If only there was more funding in our government's greedy budgets for more projects like the Milford, Texas Tower. We need more innovative companies like Visiv to get this kind of technology back. Tesla was a Serbian-American inventor and engineer who discovered and patented. Tesla was a Serbian-American inventor and engineer who discovered and patented. Tesla was a Serbian-American inventor and engineer who discovered and patented. JoJo.
Patented. Strange, right, to have such beautifully designed andirons to secure energy. Sorry.
Energy.
We're so close to the end. I can taste it.
So far.
It's so fucking far. So close, no matter how far. You know that song? Listen to that.
I know that song.
You know who it is?
Heard that song
You know who it is? I know you
Who?
probably wouldn't. It's like a hair band from the 80s and 90s. Bloody Metallica.
Oh, really?
Nothing else matters.
Oh, yes.
So close, and you do know that song. Anyway.
Let's do it again.